Benson's here. Benson's here. How you doing, Benz? Get the video working here this morning. Hanging out with Benson and friends. Nice to see you here. Morning. Yes. Make sure everything's working here this morning. Prime 406 Games in the house. How you doing, Dennis? Thanks for joining this morning. It's gonna be a good show here today. Can't wait to do it. You guys ever check MTG Top 8? Let's check it out here this morning. Back to work this Monday. Me too. Just getting geared up here. Do a little bit streaming here this morning. Do a little bit of stocks and talks with you folks. Glad. Good to see your face, even though there's no beard. Well, it's coming back. A little bit at a time. Half a mil at a time, right? Half a millimeter at a time. Man, let's see what's new. The world of magic here this morning. Should we do that here together? Let's do it. We should. Gonna have an interesting show here for you folks. Nobody playing standard anymore? Legacy or vintage. Gaming Bob's here. How you doing, Gaming Bob? As I did the morning do adieu, I say hello to you. As I bid the morning do adieu, I say hello to you. Good morning, Gaming Bob. I say hello to you this morning too. I'm getting set to build myself a coffee. Welcome everybody to the stream. Got a couple of news articles. I'm going to check the stock test to see what we got. Read for you folks today. News over the weekend. Let's get into it. As I bid the morning adieu, I say hello to you. I'm gonna go take a look at one more magic article here. Make sure I get everything rolling here. We're gonna check the stream out. I hope you guys had a happy Easter. It was a good one for y'all joining here this morning. Article for news. All right, yeah, we got some stuff. We got some stuff to go over. We do. All right, should be. We could go with this. We can go with this. We got some stuff to go over here this morning. Just bring this up so I can look you folks right in the Cam Diddley Amra. That's better. Morning, folks. Today is April 10th, 2023. Thanks for joining me here. It's the Bro on the Bro Show. Brody Alfonso's Morning Magic the Gathering Stocks and Magic the Gathering Talks. I hope you folks had a good weekend. And we're just getting ready to do it again this week. It's Monday. It's April 10th. And I want to thank each and every one of you amazing shining stars, fans, friends, people of the universe who tune in each and every morning, Monday through Friday, to hang out with me on the morning show. Is there enough information out there? Do you like tracking the prices of magic cards? Or is there just too much all darn information out there? Let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every day, Monday through Friday, here on the morning show. I am doing it live with you folks here this morning. I want to thank Benson for joining us here this morning. Titantaman, Prime 406 Games, MTG Gaming Bob's in the house. It's seeming like it's going to be some pretty good streaming this morning. As I bid the morning dew adieu, I say good day to you, folks. So we're going to warm up just a little bit. It's been an interesting some interesting developments over the weekend. I got some articles for the stock desk here to go over with you folks. I'm looking at MTG Top 8 to see what the talk of the town is and what kind of a tournament play that we had happening recently. The most recent thing we seen was the grand qualifiers from Prague and Legacy. There was another South American Magic Series final regional championship in Chile and a 20 RCQ in Water, that happened on the first of the month. Now, once that information starts to make its way from the last weekend into MTG Top 8, we're going to have some movers and some shakers because this is the show where we tie it all together. Why do cards go up? What makes them move? Well, when a deck top eights, if it's a new meta deck, then that tends to move the markets. But let's just warm up a little bit here this morning with a couple of AI generated magic cards. Make sure the stream is working all right, and we're going to just go over the rules for you folks here this morning. I know your time is valuable and you don't have time to waste, so let's get right into it here. We're going to look at some AI generated cards, and if the cards got any gibberish on it whatsoever, we fail it. You'll hear this sound. Right? And if it's a playable card, meaning even if it's a little bit costed for casting costs, we're going to give it a pass, and you'll hear this sound. The dinger. The dinger, it's a marvelous thing. All right, let's get over to the stock desk here this morning. Make sure all the gremlins are chased out of the stream. Let's get everything working here this morning. We got this first card here, Restoration Omnidian. You got to check this out here. MTG Gaming Bob. Let's check out this Cat Cleric for Restoration Omnidian. This card looks okay. So far, so good. 1 blue and 2 for this 2/2. Let's check the chat here. Let's see what you folks got. What do you folks got for me here this morning? You never know. I love it when you guys join in because the chat makes the stream just so much better. Oh, this live stream's the best. Well, thank you. MTG Gaming Bob likes the old school comments. All right, Titantum. Let's take a look at this blue cat cleric here, okay? What do you think, Titan? Restoration Omnidian. This guy's the guy that'll come and clean your flooded house, perhaps? When Omnidian enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card, a creature card, or a land card from among them, put them into your hand, and exile one of them. So you look at the top 4 cards, reveal an artifact, creature, or land, and put it in your hand and exile one of them. If it's an instant or sorcery was exiled this way, Restoration Omnidian deals 3 damage to that player. Well, this is word salad because it says you may reveal an artifact, creature, or land from among them and put it in your hand, and then it says if second paragraph, an instant sorcery was exiled this way, it deals 3 damage. I can't give it a pass, can we? Sorry, this sucker has got. This thing's got word salad written all over this cat that eats salad. Have you heard of these people who have vegetarian cats? They have vegetarian animals. We all know who's in charge in that relationship. This Restoration Omnidian. I think we got to fail it. Let's get it out of here. All right. How you doing, Benson? All right, let's check another one. What do you guys, are you with me on this one? This has got to be got to fail it, right? What do you do with the other cards? Yeah, it would be good, but it says it's got conditions for artifact, creature, or land to put in your hand, and then in the second paragraph it says if you reveal a sorcery, you got to take 3. So let's fail this sucker. That's right. Tommy Siddons in the house. If any of you folks are sitting on the fence, whether or not you're going to hit the like or subscribe button, join us here with Tommy Siddons. Don't be sitting on the fence. Do like Tommy Siddons? Join the stream. You can sit in and participate any day of the week. Sounds like a good way to be eaten by your right? All right, let's check it out. Binding Wither. Anger Collections in the house. How you doing, Anger? Nice to see you this morning. I'm gonna have to shout you out here in a little bit. Binding Wither. You like this 5/6 elf? A 56 elf. That's a big elf, man. Oh man. Anger's Collection's been selling Plane Chase cards over at his TCG Player store. And if there's one place I might decide to shop on TCG Player, it's probably over at Anger Collections. I know a few folks like the Dual Brain Anger Collection. There are some reliable sources out there on TCG Player, and I know there's a lot to look at over at TCG Player, but that's one place I would go if I had to shop TCG Player. Yes. Let's take a look at this Binding Wither. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Binding Wither. For 1 black and 3, you get a 5/6 elf. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a charge counter on it. Pay 2, tap, remove a charge counter from Binding Wither. Destroy target creature of an opponent's choice they control. So your opponent basically gets to sacrifice something. Okay. At 13, exile all cards from your graveyard. For 2, Binding Wither gives 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. That permanent does not untap during his controller untaps phase as long as Binding Wither remains tapped. Man, I don't know. I don't know what to say. This seems... Let's read it again. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on it. Fine. What do you do with the charge counters? You pay 2 and remove it, and then you destroy target creature of an opponent's choice that they control. All right, so your opponent gets to blow something up. You get to blow something up of your opponent's choice. Of course, if they have limited targets, it's going to be like, their one thing. And then for 13, you have to exile your whole graveyard. That seems bad. There's a little downside. But up to the third part, everything seems fine. Then 2, Binding Wither deals 4 damage to target creature or player an opponent controls. It's got Frost on it. It's got a freeze effect. That permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untapped step for as long as Binding Wither remains tapped. So it just doesn't say doesn't untap during your next untap. I think we got to pass this. Plane Chase Gold, right? Anger's got the Plane Chase Gold. Let's give this card a pass. It seems okay. Anger's got the good stuff over at you, right? So like I personally, like I've never bought anything off of TCG Player. I just fearful because I just know that it's like a direct to marketplace type of market scenario, and anybody could be selling just about any condition and it's subjective. So if you get into a situation when you want to shop on TCG Player, check out some of the well-known affiliates of the channel like Ed over the Dual Brain or Anger Collections, guys who got good reputations and are professional buyers and sellers. Let's check it out. We're going to rate this. Let's call it fair. Let's call it fair. What does everybody says the Binding Wither is OP. All right. Well, what about this Impassum Vengia? Blurismant. Can have a warrior you control. 2/2. We don't have time for this. Get it out of here. Fail it right now. That's right. You're fired before you start, right? All right. Prime's buying out all his reserve list cards, eh? You know what's funny about the Plane Chase is about when we did have a local game store here about 2018, there was a couple of guys who sat down and they were playing Plane Chase, and I'm like, what is this card? What is this game you guys are playing? And they're like, it's called Plane Chase. And I was like, wow. Vengias is a pretty good insult. Is it an insult? Impassive Vengias? Vengias. I don't know what an Vengias is. A pretty good insult. All right. Now it is. Okay, let's check out one more here. Dryad's Portal. 3 mana for this Dryad's Portal. Pay a life, tap it, sacrifice Dryad's Portal, you lose the game. This is like the ice cream scoop, right? Did you guys get the ice cream scoop from Unhinged or I think that was, yeah. Triad's Portal. Here we go. Everybody needs to find a good happy medium so you don't lose your mind. MTG Gaming Bob says, I'm desperately trying to find more fun in MTG. I cannot dwell on the actual analysis I'm seeing. It's not good for my mental health. I want more fun in my hobby. What is making you folks happy? Well, let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna rate this card. This seems fine. In fact, this Dryad's Portal, 3 mana for an artifact that you tap, pay a life to sack it and lose the game. It seems like it's a fair card. It's like, how about you can't scoop unless you have an artifact that makes you lose the game? I'm gonna give it a fine. We're gonna get to that right here. Actually, there's a really good question for you here, Gaming Bob. All right, and it wastes. Oh yeah, look at this. You want some cheering up, Gaming Bob? Look at this. This is a waste. This is like, oh, this is like downtown. Where is this? Downtown somewhere in the city. I'm making myself a coffee. I got a way to get some fun into the collection, okay? And it's a pretty interesting way to get some fun into your collection. Let's give this waste a pass. Let's hit the dinger. Seems okay. Prime 406 says the old stuff makes me happy and has the old stuff makes me happy. New stuff has too many variants. Good point. I like the old looking cards, but I want. Okay, all right. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Infernal Habit. Okay, this is all about magic. It's an infernal habit that nobody can have enough of. This 1 black instant speed with split second on it says return infernal habit to its owner's hand. That's all it does. OMG. This is like game development. All it does is return itself to its owner's hand. It doesn't do anything else. Let's fail it. Folks, I don't know what to tell you about the Infernal Habit. Seems like a game. Seems like a game. Seems like a game that's funny. All right, so couple of comments here this morning. MTG Gaming Bob wants to get a little more fun into his Magic the Gathering collection. And if we're at Magic the Gathering 30, I remember when there's an interview going around online, and it was the Q&A with Richard Garfield. And I think it's interesting because Richard Garfield introduced topic of conversation with regards to reserve lists or with regards to reprints and what to expect as the game grows. Now, one of the comments that he had made there at Magic 30 was that the game of Magic the Gathering could in fact be a closed game. Okay, so the fact that it could be a closed game with your own set of rules and your own types of formats left me scratching my head, and I didn't really have an idea what he was talking about. But here's an example. Now, over the last couple of weeks, there was been a resurgence in a card and a deck based around it, a new format that was developed a few years ago, if I am not mistaken, is the Dan format. But I thought I started talking about this a little bit in the chat with Super Fast Tortoise, and I thought, well, if somebody can make a Dan deck, why can't we make a giant tortoise deck? So here's let me give you an example. Okay, so and we're gonna get to an article here this morning. Let's take an example. So the Dan card was a card from Arabian Nights that's seen some spikes in action. So we've got the Dan card here. This is the one that has been making waves. Holy smokes, it's up to about $30 now. Okay, so the Dan card's up to $30 and it's spiking. But what about coming up? And this is the Forgetful Fish, right? So what about coming up with a deck around this card and another common from Arabian Nights? So here's a common from Arabian Nights, Giant Tortoise, right? So these closed formats that people can build, like Dan, or perhaps giant tortoise. Like I thought that would be a neat build for somebody like super fast tortoise to come up with like a tortoise deck, similar to the Dan deck where you got 10 copies of the tortoise and you and your opponent both share the deck and you play off the top and there's like a namesake creature in the deck and it's pretty much a closed build. That's sort of what I think Richard Garfield was getting at, is that Magic can be a closed game. You can come up with your own closed sort of a deck rules. Like the Dan deck the deck list isn't going to be adding any other cards. It's just that's the traditional Dan deck list. And if people think about it, they could choose a namesake creature or a pet creature. I thought this would be good for Super Fast Tortoise because it's the Tortoise card and it's also from Arabian Nights. Maybe that's the way to go in the future where you've got like a deck. You guys want to sit down and pass the time and play some Dan, or you guys want to play some super fast tortoise? You know, there's this tortoise is interesting because it can get 0/3 while it's untapped, so it's a 1/1. It might be a little harder to win the game. You could make a closed format around Kukas. That's what Benson is saying here this morning. So you want to get some more fun into your hobby, there's a couple of ways to do it. Let's make a closed format around Treacherous Pit Dweller. Oh, okay. Tommy Siddons wants a Treacherous Pit. The hype is ridiculous. It's a recurring storm troop. Robocop. That was a picture of Detroit. Oh my god. Might be seeing plane chase cards a lot in Commander table these days. Or Commander Raids is another decent card. All right, so let's check out one more treacherous. You want to see the treacherous pit dweller? Well, there's an E in treacherous. Of course, my treachery is not so. Avacyn restored. We want to build a card around this 4/3 that when it enters the battlefield from a graveyard, your opponent gains control of it. And Undying. When it dies, if it had no +1/+1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. See, that's kind of seems kind of interesting. All right, so whether it's Giant Tortoise, Treacherous Pit Dweller, or the Dan card, there's plenty of ways we can build closed decks and even formats that don't require printings of newer cards out into the game of Magic the Gathering so we can get some fun into our collection. All right, we got a recap for you folks for the weekly winners from last week. Let's check it out. This is the boss man over at the MTG stock desk. I got a coffee flanged up. I built myself a coffee here this morning. Let's read. Let's check out. We got some fun cards this week. 2 of them are because of speculation of the upcoming March of Machines set, and the number 1 winner is because of a fringe format. So let's check it out. Only a few short weeks ago, we spoke about Dan in the weekly winners of 2022. Back then, we talked about the card Crystal Spray. Oh, this is an interesting card, Crystal Spray. I looked at it too. This is a change the text card from Nemesis. This is a blue and 2. Change the text of target spell or permanent by replacing all instances one color word or basic land type with another and draw a card. So this is like Slate of Mind combined with like Magical Hack all in one card. Crystal Spray, pretty good card that went up 45%. And the very same reason that Dan is moving up, not coincidental. Crystal Spray is also found in the interest of last week, moving up 95% to $16.63. But you know what? That Dan is not just the name of a card, but it's also in an official Magic the Gathering format. We saw Dan on the movers and the shakers list about a couple of weeks ago, and now it's just going crazy for this common. Okay. It's also known as the Forgetful Fish format because of the Memory Lapse card. It's a game for 2 players that use a shared 80 card deck, and apart from using this unique feature, the game flow follows unusual rules of Magic I was talking to Janin yesterday. We were playing some Commander at the Coopers yesterday. We played. Thanks for everybody who stopped in to watch us play the very first Oathbreaker match that we have yet play in our play group. It went really long. It was over 2 hours, but we're discussing Dan and the play patterns that happen. Some really awkward play patterns that will happen. All right. So this card is making moves. It seems like it's up to about $30 here this morning. It keeps moving up. The big question is, why did this card get a spike? And the format is not new and it's not competitive. The main reason seems to be that a popular YouTuber, Brody Alfonso, was talking about it. But the history of Dan is also there's Dan G, but also there's Dan GPT. Okay. So like if you are sick of going to the internet on the weekends or even Monday and finding out your Magic the Gathering news, but that you're actually too late for the Magic the Gathering news that folks are talking about, like this weekend, if you watch the Hot Top 10 over at the Moxman's channel, those are some cards that we were talking about earlier that week, Wednesday, Tuesday, and even the week before. So if you're sick of getting news that's like a week late, tune in here on the morning show or try and catch the replay because we're covering most of this stuff as it happens. And if you're tired of getting news that's not so new, socks that smell like 2 or 3 days old, you got to check out the morning show. I started bringing a weekly recap to folks who can't make it, but this is another card that seems to be moving and shaking here last week that nobody has been. I haven't discussed this yet. Vampire Hexmage, it's up 224%. Here's a card that we used to use with Dark Depths in order to remove the ice flow counters from it and get ourselves a 2020 flying indestructible creature. The Vampire Hexmage is moving up. Invasion, not Nemesis. I misspoke. It's Invasion. Let's check it out. Little crystal spray here this morning. I'm sure some of you must know Hexmage is a creature that costs 2 black. You can sacrifice itself to remove all counters from a permanent, and occasionally it sees play with Dark Depths. Yes, by sacrificing the Hexmage, you can remove all the counters off Dark Depths. So, like, there's a couple of ways to play Dark Depths. There was the Thespian Stage combo in lands that played red and green and included a copy of Burning Anger, Burning Inquiry, Punishing Fire, that's the one. Grove of the Burnwellers, Punishing Fire in the red-green lands deck. And then there was the Turbo Death deck that played black and included the Vampire Hexmage as a faster way to flip this sucker. To get the Flying Indestructible Merit Lage token, myself, I was more apt to playing the red-green version of the lands deck with crop rotation. I like that version better. But as many variations of the lands deck came out, the Vampire Hexmage Dark Depth combo seemed to be flipping. So is this why this card, Vampire Hexmage, is spiking? Look at this. This guy starts every sentence with the word and. Okay, I'm calling this out here. And. This guy starts the full paragraph with and here. And just saying, a little pet peeve. And again, the entire story starts with and. Over here, we're starting a full sentence with and here. And this is the boss who writes these articles. So I find it kind of funny that we started. I don't think you're allowed to start every sentence with and. Or paragraph. But nevertheless, the card sees play in Legacy and will be the main reason why it's moving up from March of the Machines. And for those who are not paying attention to the March of the Machines spoilers, there's a new type of card that's been introduced called Battles. So Battles is a card type in Magic, and the March of the Machines share the Siege subtype, while future subtypes may function differently. Currently, only know how sieges work. Battles share a Siege subtype, while future subtypes may function differently. We currently only know how sieges work. They're all double-face cards, and when played, they're placed on the battlefield with the battle side face up. Their controller selects an opponent to be the protector of the battle, and as it enters the battlefield, it receives defense counters equal to the number in the lower right corner of the card. Any player other than the protector may launch a creature attack against the battle during combat. While the protector may assign blockers for that reason, battles can also be damaged by non-combat damage specifically targeted or be directed at with spells that say any target. When the damage is dealt to a battle, it loses an equivalent number of defense counters, and once the last counter is gone, the battle is defeated. And its transformability triggers. The battle is then exiled, and its back face is cast for free as it has no mana cost. So what's important about these defense counters is that you can see the interaction with Vampire Hexmage. So with a battle on the field, let's say Invasion of Ikoria and Vampire Hexmage, you can simply sacrifice the Hexmage and remove all counters from the battle and cast the other side for free. In this example, that will give you an 8/8 that can let your other creatures trample over damage. While keeping that in mind, Vampire Hexmage can still be had for 50 cents when you look at other versions of the card. We do, however, see another card spiking this week because of the very same reason, and that is Hex Parasite. It's moved up 80% and it's up $8.93, up to $8.93. It can also be an effective way to remove counters from a permanent since it had no reprints since its printing in New Phyrexia. Interesting. So Hex Parasite moving up to $8. Another card that we're starting to see some action out of. Are you excited for the battle cards? I kind of think it's going to be a little bit interesting. So Hex Parasite moving up. Hasn't seen any reprints since New Phyrexia, which is fine, but the price is easier to manipulate up, so people can speculate and also benefit from the previewed card Tom Bombadil. Tom Bombadil. That's right. People are already speculating on Tom. Since the deck built around Tom will most likely involve a lot of sagas, you can use Hex Parasite to replay chapters by removing counters from them. Tom Bombadil, he's the 4/4. It says as long as there are 4 more lore counters among sagas you control, Bombadil has Hexproof and is indestructible. So as long as there's a saga going on, Tom is indestructible, has Hexproof, and whenever the final chapter of a saga you control resolves, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a saga. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This ability triggers only once each turn. So, like when a saga, Urza's Saga. I think, like, why isn't Urza's Saga spiking in price? This seems fine. And here's a card I got to give a shout out to. I got to give a shout out to Benson because he was like a week and a half early on this tech. Like, I could show you the messages on the Discord. Number 1 pick from Benson. I know he was there when this when the Herald of Hoofbeats was spoiled. I learned about this card. This is the Kithkin, and I'm super stoked because good morning, Ed the Dual Brain. How you doing? Bombadook. Back to work, sadly. How you doing, Ed? Nice to see you this morning. 1 Glissa should be the real mover. Tommy Sidden says his prediction on battles using counters paid off. I only bought a couple of these cards. You just started a sentence with "and," Brody. You said, "and this is the boss." I get it, but there's just one of these writers that just continually uses that conjunctions at the beginning of the sentence. A little bit different, makes it harder to read, I find. So look at a Kinsbill Cavalier. Anybody of you folks like Kithkins? This tribe is getting a little bit more support, perhaps in the future. I think there's another new Kithkin getting printed. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Little new Kithkin support. I know Bob likes the Kithkins. Amaru Kithkin. That's the one that Bob likes. Original Kithkin decks. Since Upcoming Commander March of the Machine set, we see Cavalry Charge Precon, which revolves around Knights, with Sidbar Jafari of Zalfir. Since the deck revolves around Knights with a strong commander that can grant the effect to attacking Knights, even when it's on the battlefield, thanks to Eminence, people are looking for cards that may fit nicely as an upgrade to this Precon. In case the Kinsbill Cavalier has been chosen as a card that will most likely be added by people looking to upgrade, giving all your Knights double strike is nothing to sneeze at. In the same vein way, we also see Secret Lair version of Knight Exemplar showing up in this week's interest, moving up to $19 with a 105% increase. Knight Exemplar. First strike, other Knight creatures you control get 1/1 and have indestructible. So is it because of the Herald of Hoofbeats that's moving the Knight's price, or is it because of the Commander Precon deck, or is it both? I'll tell you, the card that I like isn't any of these cards that are listed. I do like them, but it's not my pick. My pick is Knights of Thorn from the early days of Magic, the one with Pro Red and Knighthood that's illustrated by Christopher Rush, which is on the reserve list. History of Benalia, another Knight saga that is more of a bedtime story than a saga because it goes night night. Some cheap pickups this week. The Platinum Angel being identified as a penny stock. Penny stocks featured. This card is featured in Reanimator decks, including the Red Goblin Welder deck. Any card that you can recur a artifact from the graveyard. The Platinum Angel is only $3.67 right now. Tiller Engine, a card that says whenever a land enters the battlefield tapped under your control, you can untap it or tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. This Tiller Engine seems good, especially with the Fairy's Isle or any of the lands that would require another Amulet of Vigor effect to untap them. Tiller Engine seems fine. This seems like a cheap pickup. I should put that on my list. I really should. An anti-blight bad influence. This devil on the shoulder. Legendary Devil Advisor. When a source you control deals damage to you, put that many 1/1 counters on anti-blight bad influence. So when you hit yourself, it gets bigger. And then a red and 1 tap remove X 1/1 counters from anti-blight. It deals X damage to any target. So I guess if you're hurting yourself, what if you shock yourself? Does that work? Or yeah, I guess if you whenever source you control deals damage to you, yeah. So whenever a shock land enters the battlefield and you untap it, you can also get counters on your anti-bad blight. Platinum Angel, also the major plot point. Standoff, Honolulu. I have to look this up. Coolbrain has the most ridiculous mail day to film. You have no clue. It's absurd. Like 2 months of collecting boxes. I love it. All right, for this week, this is brought to you by Arjun, who's been playing Magic since the Ice Age and has mostly played the Legacy format for 10 years ago. He founded MTG Stock Desk. MTG Stocks because he and his friends wanted to buy Magic singles at the right time to play with. So another article brought to us by Arjun, and I'm going to jump right over here to MTG Rocks for another article because there's some cards that are showing up over here that are a little bit repeats. So they're talking about Vampire Hex Mage, yes, for sure, and the ability to remove counters. Hex Parasite, Dan. Do you see just a repeat of the exact same cards here? Is there too much information out there, or is there just the same information over and over again? Let's take a look here. Sleeper Agent. When Sleeper Agent comes into play, target opponent gains control of it. At the beginning of your upkeep, Sleeper Agent deals 2 damage to you. This bizarre MTG card has a potential to watch in the upcoming weeks. A new Rakdos Burn deck is making a way in Modern. We'll hopefully, if we see it on MTG Top 8, this new Rakdos Burn deck. It plays a lot of bizarre bizarre bulk bin cards that weren't on anyone's radar just a few weeks ago, signaled by the insane price spike to soul spike. Players and investors now seem to be keeping track of cards from the deck list. Another card to watch is this one, Blade of Shared Souls. Artifact equipment from Phyrexia Blue and 2 for Mirrodin. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 Rebel creature token and attach it to it. So this is a blade that gets attached directly to the 2/2 Rebel creature. All right, that seems fine. And for Mirrodin, what else do you get? Whenever Blade of Shared Souls becomes attached to a creature, for as long as Blade of Shared Souls remains attached to it, you may have that creature become a copy of another target creature you control. That's a decent card. A sword for 3 mana that enters and copies a creature on the battlefield. That seems really good. Another card to watch, Ratatatabigrik of Ratad Rabbic of Urborg. This is a zombie wizard. I was playing this yesterday in Zombies. I actually was. So check this card out. Ward, Vigilance. Vigilance in Ward 2. Other zombies you control have Vigilance. And whenever another legendary creature you control dies, create a token of it that's a copy of that creature, except it's not a legendary and it's a 2/2 black zombie in addition to its other color type. So the Nevinril Urborg Tyrant. Let's take a look at the Nevinril Urborg Tyrant, because I was playing this yesterday and I couldn't quite get it off, but I think this is the card that it goes with. Is this Nevinril? So I'm playing this in Zombies myself. So this guy's he's a 3/6 zombie, right? It says hexproof from artifacts. He's legendary. When he enters the battle, this is how this card works, actually. So if you want to look at the tech on this and why this card's like a one to watch, Ratadabric of Urborg, he gives other zombies vigilance, and guess what? Nevinril's a zombie. And then when Nevinril Urborg Tyrant enters the battlefield, you get a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token for each creature that died this turn. So, like, you gotta wipe the board and then cast Nevinril. But it's like 5 mana to wipe the board usually. So then you need another 6. You need 11 mana to get this off. Seems really hard to do. But then it's got this other ability that says when he dies, you can pay 1. And if you do, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. So if you got a sack outlet for Larry Nevin, if you got a way to destroy him and then you pay 1 and wipe the board, then recast him, you're going to have to pay 8 mana for your commander. So now it gets even harder. How the heck do you pull this off? A board wipe plus a Nevinril activation plus he entering the battlefield and getting all your 2/2 zombies? Seems like you can't do it. Well, with Ratadabric of Urborg, so whenever another legendary creature you control dies, say you've got Larry Nevinril on the battlefield and he dies, you pay 1 and you put his board wipe ability on the stack. Okay. So then whenever he dies, you pay 1 and then he's going to blow up the board. All other creatures, artifacts, and enchantments. And then he dies, you put his blow up the board ability on the stack, and then you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except that it's a legendary and it's a 2/2 zombie in addition to its other types. And then you stack the order so that Larry Nevin's blow up the board ability goes first, so that you blow up the board, and because they both happen at the same time, you get to order this copy token. So you stack this part. When he finally dies, I figured out how to do it. When he dies, you pay 1 and you blow up the board, and then when he enters, you get a 2/2 black zombie creature for each creature that dies. So with this guy as your commander, you don't really care. You're not going to be casting this unless you go deep into the game. And then you've got this guy, Ratadabric. Once you blow up, then he enters, then you get the zombies. The 2/2 copy of Larry Nevin's not entering. The copy of Larry Nevin is entering. And then triggering the zombie replicate trigger of everything dying because he just wiped the board. So that's how Radadabric of Urborg is played. According to Brody Alfonso, I played it in the zombie deck last weekend, Commander of the Coopers, so I was trying really hard to get that off. Another card at Sushi, the Blazing Sky. You guys like Sushi? Anybody? You let Nevernearl go to the graveyard and recur him from the graveyard instead of the command zone. I like it. Yeah, you can do that. You can recur him. That's that. I guess yeah. That's one way to do it. But like you can combo that with Radadabric, right? So if he dies, you trigger him, and then you put the board wipe ability on the stack, wipe the board, and then Radadabric makes a copy of him. He enters, and then you count everything that died, and you get a 2/2 zombie for everything. And like you're not paying any mana. You're not like hardly. You're paying 1 to activate him when he dies. And so yeah, you can. There's 2 ways to do it. You can recur him, or you can combo him out with Radadabric. Where's the poutine emoji? What's going on? Brody's on the rise. Brody's on the shine. Here with some Canadian pancakes and hanging out with you, Michael Superbacker. I got my coffee on the go here, making a little splash in the cup. Taking a look at some cards to buy. I don't like putting my commander in the graveyard. I don't know. I don't like putting my commander in the graveyard. I try not to do it. People get rid of them from, I guess. Maybe I should try it. I'll try it, Bob. I'll try it. I'm gonna have to add some Goryo's Vengeance and a few reanimate spells in order to do that. That's not the play pattern that I was going for. In fact, I didn't even consider that. So I'm glad you mentioned it. So I can make the zombie deck just a little bit better, I think. Because I've got the guy that whenever something leaves your graveyard, you get the Tor mode, right? You get zombies. I'll have to retool it. At Sushi the Blazing Sky. Flying trample 4/4. When at Sushi Blazing Sky dies, choose 1. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of turn. You may play those cards and create 3 treasure tokens. A new standard deck with an infinite combo finished first in Swiss in MTG's largest standard tournament in quite some time. Dream Shack San Diego hosted the U.S. Regional Championship Series with more than 900 players. The new cards from this deck are also shown above, and the marketplace has already established massive interest and increase in the 3 cards. This is not yet translated to financial price increases. These 3 cards combined create infinite tokens, infinite mana, and can exile infinite cards that can be played until your next turn from your library. If you're interested in figuring out how this combo works, we'll cover it in another detail in the future. So this guy, at Sushi, the Blazing Sky, good place to get. Just saying, at Sushi, dying on turn 4 perfectly curves into an Ugin. At Sushi. I'm hungry for sushi. So pretty good article from MTG Rocks here this morning. Pretty happy to cover that with you on the stock desk. Very interesting tech. Okay, so I learned something new about Nevernearl and how to play him out at the graveyard. I also learned another interaction with a zombie copy card that works. And at Sushi, if you got this stream this morning is really making me hungry. If you folks haven't checked the card interactions and the cards that are moving here this morning, I appreciate you folks for joining me here this morning. Take a look at some cards that are moving in the world of Magic the Gathering, and it's always it's not that why like that's the thing. You'll see them on the movers and the shakers list, and you'll go, what's worse is like when you don't know why they're moving. All right, let's get ready to move and shake. It's Monday, so let's hit the modern list, shall we? tip modern up this morning. Little good tech here. All right. Bob's informed me that I'm doing it wrong when I'm playing Never End Roll from the command zone. God. No wonder the deck isn't working. Let's get moving. Let's get shaking here this morning. We got some movers and shakers. Let's do some Monday, Modern Monday. Everybody interested? Oh, what do we got? Some interesting stuff here. Hello. Johan Matuzzi's here. All the way from Sweden. I like it, the fact that you folks join me from all over the world to talk Magic card this morning. I hope to get through all the chat and all the channel here this morning. Get yourself some sushi. At Sushi Dine on turn 4, curved perfectly into an Ugin. You made your own sushi last Friday. Got a gorgeous piece of high quality, never frozen, big-eyed tuna. Man. I've rolled my own sushi like just a couple of times. Recommend running Rise of the Dreadmarn, Volrath, Stronghold, Phyrexian Reclamation, Ravos, Soul Tender in your Nevinyrral deck. How's your day going, Johan? We're doing good. Johan Matuzzi, this guy is a man who has a fine taste in Magic cards. He's currently collecting every card in the set of the Dark, and I get to keep up with him over on Twitter. If you guys haven't joined me over there from some twits and some tweets, it's good time. Johan's got a handle going. He's showcasing his latest Dark collection that he's piecing together one card at a time, and I'm going to be there watching it all unfold. Let's take a look at some movers and the shakers here this morning. What do we got? Topping the list on Modern. It's Monday. We're going to do Modern here. Elish Norn Grand Cenobite. Taking a bite out of the movers and the shakers list here this morning. Elvish Norn. We've heard much ado about this card, and it's funny how things change. Do you guys notice how fast things change in the world of Magic the Gathering? I mean, this chick just got her head bit off by Karn and Elspeth a couple of weeks ago, and we're already moving on to the next big thing with battles, Vampire Hexmage, Kithkins, and Knights, Knight Tribal, Dan, and all these other cards. It's like, look over here while this is happening. No, wait, there's something over there that's happening. And before you know it, you've got your head on your shoulders. It's spinning all the way around. And unless you kind of keep up with things, the market just moves. It's like a goldfish, right? It's like a goldfish in a bowl. And people are like, Brody, you talk so fast on the live stream, and you go at such a fast pace. Do you know why I cover this stuff every morning and I pile through it so quickly? Because a lot of people who are doing internet streams or informational videos, they talk like you're slow, like you can't understand what they're talking about. So, or either that, or they're just looking for watch time. Like they're talking at a pace that's so slow. When I watch other Magic the Gathering YouTubers out there who are covering Magic the Gathering news, I hit the plus 1.5 button. I can't stand listening to them speak at such a slow tone of voice, because they talk to people like they're stupid, like they can't understand what's going on. But I know you folks who are watching, who turn into this channel each and every day, are the people. You are smart enough to get this. I know you are, because I see the chat and I see the comments coming in, and it's teaching me stuff that I don't know about card interactions, and I'm like absorbing it the whole time. So I'm not talking to you folks like you're stupid. I'm talking to you folks at a quick pace, because I want to deliver as much information to you folks as possible. I want to get the discussion going. And I think you guys are the most brilliant Magic the Gathering players in the world, because you show up here each and every morning to discuss this. And I think you folks do have the ability to listen and talk and discuss at a quick speed. I can't go. I mean, I wish some other content creators would get out of first gear. It's like they're stuck in four-wheel low, and they just don't go anywhere in the 20 minutes that they talk. Not here. We're going to fast-paced Magic the Gathering show. We cover cards here each and every morning. We cover the movers and the shakers. We look at articles, and we pile a bunch of information into the live stream so you guys can get it. Because at the rate that things change, we don't want to miss a thing. And I know you folks are smart enough to get it. Prime Horror 6. Right? Full speed ahead, right, Fantalio? That's right. Full speed ahead. Elish Norn Grand Cenobite. So we went from one, like it's almost the timing of information, and I'm gonna just touch on this because this is the show where we bring it all together, okay? I don't like it when the world plays a funny joke on people where they're like, we're gonna let this information come out, but it's not going to be until it's too late. And there's a lot of that goes on in the world. That's the ultimate display of power. Okay, so when you're talking about Wizards of the Coast, they'll be leading people down the path with a certain product and a certain game mechanic and new developments in the game to get everybody to look in a certain direction. And then it's the stuff that you're not looking at that is getting set up for a move later on down the road. It's that is the ultimate display of power in the entire world, is like getting everybody to look some direction, get them to go in that direction, and then as soon as they move, you go, I gotcha. Haha, you just, it's like that, that Twister game where you take your hand off blue. It's like those are the cards in your Magic collection that are worth money. And all we want you to do is just let go of them for a quick second and look over here at these other cards, right? And then as soon as you look back, they're gone because you're like, oh shoot, I can't get it now. Now the price went up because you were misdirection. So I like to cover a lot here. I like to cover a lot of information in this. Elish Norn Grand Cenobite is another example of a card that was all headlines, and everybody was like talking about the mother of machines, and then she just got her head ripped off, and we're on to the next thing, right? What we should have been looking at is Dan Dan, which we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. That's where not Elish Norn. All right, let's check out the Grand Cenobite, this Praetor. Let's prey on the reserve list and some Praetor cards. Prey on the modern list for this morning. How do we get some more fun into our collection? Well, I like poking fun. I like why'd this spike? It's getting a reprint, right, Tommy? I always end my streams when I have nothing else to say, right? Prime says, I'm the dumb Timmy, right? Full speed ahead. Let's talk about it. All right. Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. Other creature gets +2. Vigilance. Other creatures you control get +2/+2. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. It's like this card is spiking. It could very well. Wow, look at the chart on this. Hey, Brody just wants to draw lines on charts. Let's get my pencil out. Let's choose a color. Let's go with black here this morning. That's going to turn up pretty nice for you folks at home. So we've got like this just a seesaw pattern here. This isn't like, are we seeing like a bit of a cup and handle starting to form here? Perhaps not. I don't see any patterns developing here that fit any of the particular stock patterns. It's just sort of a gradual up and down. And now we have a spike here. This could, like we were talking about a cup and handle. I don't think this card's going to spike, but let's take a look. If we look here, this could be a little bit of a cup forming, and that there could be a little bit of a handle indicating more bullish. I think this card is still bullish. It's going to keep moving up for some reason. I don't quite know why, but let's keep an eye on it. Decks using it. We got Elish Norn, Mother of the Machine. It's a commander. Atraxas playing it. Sithis Harvest Hand. Mirkul, Lord of Bones. Go to the Unifier, Urtet the Remnant Memnarch, Atraxa, all commander cards. It's a commander itself. It's sold out in stores. I don't know why this seems like a red herring. There's a couple of terms I want you guys to be familiar with. A straw man, okay? A straw man is like a fugazi. It's like a fake it's a fake thing that people create to draw attention. And a red herring is like something that people throw out there to distract you. Here's a card on the movers and the shakers list. Jace the Mind Sculptor from World Wake. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I know we did. Because Jace has been bottoming down in price. And if you want to get your if we're going to talk about Jace, we have to talk about the original Liliana of the Veil. We really do. We can't talk about Jace without the original Lily of the Veil. This is the original Jace the Mind Sculptor. He was as high as $200. Let's pull the chart back and take a look here and see where it's at now. Let's get some price action for JC, baby. I don't know. This seems like it's on a downward trajectory. I don't really see this moving up at all. It's a buy right now. It's probably because people are deciding they want to buy the original Jace. Let's see. They probably watched the morning show a few weeks ago. The original World Wake foil. What's that one at? This one, the one that's going to take the foil multiplier. 300? Yeah, I guess. How much was an original World Wake foil Jace before the banning? $800. All right. So the original, if you want to get yourself an original Jace, might still be the time to do it. It's $50. And not only that, if you want to get yourself, because the Super Friends deck, you want to get a Liliana the Veil. That's another. I can't bring the Jace up without bringing up Liliana the Veil. $31 for an Innistrad Lily Anna of the Veil. The foil Liliana is 150, and I would go here. I would go to the original foil Innistrad Liliana of the Veil if you can get it in a decent version, or get the $32 in $32 for an original Liliana of the Veil, as well as $50 for the original. Look at this. Look at this. This thing's just bottomed out in price here. OMG, this is incredible. Okay, why is this card so cheap, right? Because there's nobody who likes this card. Nobody likes Liliana the Veil. No? Does anybody like it? Look at this. Look at this channel. So we're going to draw a channel here for you folks. Gotta take a look here. Typical modern storytelling, right? We got a lower resistance line here. Brody wants to draw some lines on charts for you folks here. We got a lower resistance line here. Let's draw a couple of lines here. So Liliana has been bounding around this. This is about as cheap as you're going to find it. The original Liliana. Look at this. I don't think we're going to find it any cheaper. It's just the art is too suggestive for some people, right? They don't like the suggestive art, right? Like Hero of Bladehold. So we got like the Mirrodin Besieged Hero of Bladehold, right? And then we've got this suggestive art where we've got the new Hero of Bladehold, not so suggestive, right? So we want this. This card's just fallen out of favor, along with the old school original World Wake Jace. I say these are pickup. If you haven't got yourself if you ever wanted to get yourself a Jace the Mind Sculptor, do yourself a favor, get this one. Get the World Wake one. Let's check this out. Number 3 of the list here, Footsteps of Goryo. Never heard of this card. From Saviors of Kamigawa. Wonder what the foil multiplier is on this card. $60 for the foil multiplier. That's a pretty heavy multiplier from Saviors of Kamigawa. Cosmic Seas, I paid $80 for Lily at GP Anaheim in 2012. Gosh, expensive. The foil one? Good morning, Seeds. Good morning, Stefan. What do you know about foils in Saviors of Kamigawa? The multiplier for this, Footsteps of the Goryo. Black and 2. It's an arcane. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sacrifice that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So is this just not as good as Goryo's Vengeance? Hey, Gaming Bomb, should I be running this in the Urborg Nevinyrral Urborg Tyrant deck. More reanimation spell. It's an arcane spell. I could splice this onto Goryo's Vengeance, right? Return target creature card from your graveyard to play. Sacrifice it at the end of turn. It doesn't give haste, so it's a little bit worse than Goryo's Vengeance. Let's check decks using it. Goryo Through the Breach in Modern, as well as Mardu Midrange. Okay, I want to look at the Goryo Through the Breach deck. We got Grief. So this is what we're returning. Grief, the one that enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a land card from it, that player discards the card. So you get to cast a Grease, you get to Grease. You get tell me more, does he discard his hand? Tell me more, did his cards hit the floor? Tell me Grief. Okay, no, Grief, not Grease. Okay, so grief, and Solitude. You can evoke Grief, exile a black card from your hand, and then you can cast the Grief, and then it goes to the graveyard. And Solitude is another one that you can evoke. This, you get to put it onto the battlefield, and then like it's like casting a creature that has to be sacrificed once. Like the evoke ability is really good because like it's a creature that enters the battlefield, get the ETB, and then it dies right away. If you hard cast the creature, it sticks, but if you evoke it, it shows up, does its thing, and then goes to the graveyard. So if you can find a way to recur the Grief and recur the Solitude, these two incarnations. Another one that sees a lot of play is Fury. They seem to be pretty popular. Ephemerate, yeah, if you want to blink Grief or blink Solitude. Faithful Mending, and the Goryo's Vengeance. Here we go. Arcane Instant. So this is the one you splice onto Arcane. Tainted Indulgence, Shadow Prophecy, Leyline Binding. And this deck was 7-1, March 18th. So March, April. Yeah, we're like a month ago. This deck went 7-1. Modern Hunter Memorial Open. Footsteps of the Goryo. A reanimate card for $7. I should probably get a copy of this. One available at Card Kingdom for $3.99. I wonder if you can pick these up over on TCG Player, maybe at Dual Brains store, or maybe at Anger Collections. Footsteps has been on fire for a long time. It's so dang good. Pretty darn good. All right, Grave Pact. 8th edition Grave Pact. $35 is up. So the Footprints of the Goryo has been going up in price. It's you can still buy it. This is kind of a falsehood, but you can still buy it. See, let me talk about this for a second. So although Footsteps of the Goryo is $7, what I notice is like some of the bigger stores, they don't correct their prices until it's out of stock. Like here it shows on Card Kingdom, there's one available, right? And then if you go to any of the other vendors, they're more money. Like they're like, well, no, except for this one's an eBay auction, but buy it now it's $3, $4, $5, and a playset for $20. So like Card Kingdom won't move this price up until it sells out and they're out of stock. And then on the overstock or on the restock is when they'll change the price. Now, that can do a couple of things for us. It can give us an opportunity to buy in between them changing the price, which can work out in our favor. Or it can be, if it's a false indication where it's showing that it's moving up and it's spiking, like we've talked about some bad spikes, spikes that are like have no reason. Maybe they're a pricing error, or they're like a spike that shouldn't be there. Maybe somebody sold a graded copy and it moved and it spiked the chart, and then you run over and you look at the vendors and you see it for cheaper. So there's a pitfall to that. There's two sides to the pancake. If a card's spiking in price and card sellers, the big box stores, don't move their pricing until they restock, that's a good time to grab a card if it's a legit price spike. But if it's not a legit price spike, where it's a pricing error on another site, or it's a graded copy that got sold that spikes the price, that's a trap where you can fall into it and end up buying a card that you don't even want for too much. So there's two sides to that. Just be careful if you see a card spiking on the movers and the shakers list anywhere. Double check a couple of places. Double check to make sure the pricing on TCG Player isn't a pricing error. Double check eBay sold listings, and we showed how to do that to see what the market medium is and find out if there's a graded copy that sold somewhere or a card that was sold between, like, I sold a car to myself for $50,000 and I moved the price up. Now everybody wants to buy it. You're pondering around the movers and the shakers list yourself, and I encourage you folks to do it. Watch out for that. There's an opportunity to get good deals from big box stores before they move their prices up, and then there's also the pitfall that if it's a false spike, you could overpay for something. So there's double-edged sword. All right, understand you need to know how to wield that double-edged sword. You want to get cutting forward slash and the backslash. Grave Pact. Here's an enchantment. 3 black and 1. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. I should be playing this in my Larry Nevin disc, I think. Right on. Stronghold foil. This is a cool looking card. Whenever a creature you control is put into graveyard, each other player sacks a creature. That's online only. So the Stronghold version, Plane Chase, 29 bucks. For this rare and Stronghold Plane Chase, a couple of bucks. 9th edition foil is $9. 8th edition foil, $183. The foil multiplier for these. What's the cheapest version of this card? Commander. The Commander Grave Pact, 28 bucks. Holy moly. This is a card if I were to open it, I would just kind of pass over it because the triple black. It's kind of expensive, and you got to be really strongly suited into black. I know you can cast it with a Dark Ritual and something else, but it doesn't seem too bad. Let's take a look at the price chart at Grave Pact and history. Yeah, this card's seen a little bit of price action here. It's moved up. You know, it was sitting around just a couple of bucks. Let's see here. What is this? $9 to $10, $4 to $5 a few years ago. Back in 2018, it was $5 or $6. Around Modern Horizons release, now up to 17. So now it's got one leg up. Yeah, this is a second leg up. This card's going to see another leg up in price. So we're going to throw a flag on the play anywhere. It's going to be right here. So there's your first flag. And I've spoken about this a few times. These flags usually come in threes. The first one is where you're going to make the money because you're going to sell on the third one. Right now, we've hit our second flag, and it's likely that this sucker is going to take it could take another leg up in price. Morning, John from the Barrel House is here. I feel like Footsteps is on the verge of a reprint. Most likely Secret Lair. Yeah, that's another good point, Tommy. Like the fact that we have to watch out for the reprint machine, it's more of a secret reserve list at this point. You know, you can only get cards. Wait till the Secret Lair gets going. I don't think we've seen anything yet with regards to Secret Lair this year. I think this year I'm waiting for the March of the. I go over to the Secret Lair website for Wizards of the Coast. There's a picture of Walking Ballista there, and I'm like, what is going on here? Let's see here. Secret Lair official. Like, why do we have a picture of Walking Ballista here on the Secret Lair website in showcase foil? Is it because that's where we're going to get the showcase foil version of Walking Ballista and only there on the Secret Lair? I don't know, but it is going to be interesting to find out. I'm thinking there's going to be some shenanigans with these invention border frames for Walking Ballista and a few others, where maybe the only place to get them is going to be on Secret Lair, and in which case that is the new secret reserve list. I'm going to be desperately trying to get those inventions. They're maybe only going to be able to get them from the Secret Lair. So let's keep an eye on that to see when that comes out. Grave Pact, Chroma's Memorial, 7 mana artifact. Modern is, I'm liking the modern list here this morning. There's like some cards that I never see on the modern list. I never see these. Let's check it out. Future Sight card, $21.43. Time Spiral Remastered got a foil reprint for Chroma's Memorial. The list got it as well. It was 2013 and Future Sight. Holy smokes, the Future Sight foil is really expensive. Another place to look for foils if you try and find some cheap ones. I was buying Lauren foils, but maybe Future Sight's is set to revisit and try and find some cheap Future Sight foils. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, and protection from black and from red. Whoa. Whoa. No rest, no mercy, no matter what. This is an interesting card. Chroma's Memorial. Let's see what the chart looks like. Pull this sucker back. Yeah, it was as high as $36 around Kaldheim, and it's been drifting down in price. Like, it's come down a bunch. Started off pretty low around the 10 or $12 mark. $36 at Kaldheim has been drifting down. Now it could, Chroma's Memorial, another possible reprint equity. The card's pretty good. Decks using it, Commander, Urtet, Joda the Unifier, Card the Silver Golem. I think it'd be, for me, a reanimate target. Like, why not? Something you could recur with a welder, or something you could get back from the graveyard to the battlefield if you want to recur it. How are you using it? Anybody here playing a Chroma's Memorial in Commander? That seems to be where it's at. And here's the funny thing. We're looking at the modern list here today, and every single one, this card is, every single one of the decks using it is a Commander deck. So that just goes to tell me that anything that's now modern is reprint equity for a Secret Lair or a new Commander set. And this Chroma's Memorial might just as well be one of those. Legendary artifact gives your creatures Flample, Vigiflample. Vigiflample first strike. Pretty darn good. Godless Shrine. Orzhov land. This is you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it comes into play tapped. Ticket. Anybody want to comment on the enemy shocks? Godless Shrine. I like the new one from Ravnica Allegiance. A lot of people like the Infinity versions of. Holy smokes! Talk about a foil, expensive foil, $145. The Infinity ones just went bananas. Wow, these Infinity Godless Shrine lands, the planetary ones just completely went straight to the top of the pile as far as reprint equity goes. Guild Pack foil, the one we're looking at in foil, is 166. But the Infinity one is not far behind, and it's making the how did Wizards go from taking a Zendikar Expedition, Godless Shrine, reprinted it in an Infinity and a foil, and then moving that a little bit farther into the market? Oh my goodness. What else we got? Blightsteel. This is a card that's actually a vintage card. Yes, Blue Tinker's playing it, and Paradoxical Outcomes playing it. Satoru Umezawa got $53 for Blighty, Mirrodin Besieged. Kind of sad I traded my Mirrodin Blightsteel Colossus. I know who I traded it to, but nevertheless, Blightsteel, he's reprintable. $50 right now. Look at the pattern on this. Some odd charts here this morning. What do we got? We got let's draw some lines on charts. Got this guy, Blighty Boy. What does this look like? I hate to say it, but this Blightsteel Colossus looks bearish. This Blight Still Colossus looks like the price is going down. Okay, I do think that it's going to continue to fall farther. Even though it's taken a little tick up in price, like the downward pressure on this card is extremely high, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to change my color of my pen because there's huge resistance for this card right around here. Like it can't seem to get out of bed and get past this mark. Ikoria, yeah, it's saw about $80, but it's gonna keep going down. It can't get past $80 without getting a reprint, and Wizards of the Coast knows it. The only version that I would think might be able to go north is the original foil. Let's take a look at that one. This one, long term, probably going to be fine. Yeah, see the original foil? It hasn't even it doesn't even it just trucks along at $125 and doesn't move. So that card isn't going to move. Now, Blightsteel is going to continue. See, I think what they've gone and done is anchored themselves. There's a spike in Blightsteel over to around $3,000. That's a false indication. You guys want to see a false indication? Let's look at one here. Let's take a look at Blightsteel. We're going to scroll back to 2018. There's a spike here, and these are the spikes that I'm talking about. You guys wake up in the morning and you see a card on the movers and the shakers list do this, and you're like, wow, $3,200 for Blightsteel. I don't know what. It's probably somebody who mispriced one from $32 to $3,200. But this is what I'm talking about. You could wake up in the morning and see a spike like this on any card. Then you head over to the vendor store and you're like, I'm going to buy it because it's definitely going up. And then you come to realize that that was a pricing error on somebody over at TCG Player or eBay, and then you just got duped. So watch out for that. On the other hand, if it is a legit price spike, if you can see justification for the card going up in price, you might be able to nab it quicker than they can change the price on it. It's happened to me a few times in the past. It's worked out good and it's worked out bad. It's worked out both ways for me. Blightsteel Colossus, another victim of price spikes back in the day, but the foil version from Mirrodin seems to be stable at around like that. That thing seems like a stable card. Foil original Mirrodin Blightsteel, $125 all day long, doesn't even move up or down. It's these other ones that seem to be can't get past $80 and then a reprint. So like Blightsteel is going to go lower. I think that they're probably going to keep printing that sucker until it goes to around the $20 to $30 mark. We're not like we just got it again in a secret layer, right? Tarmogoyf from Furchershard. Tarmogoyf from Furchershard. This is the original. Where's the original Goyf? This is a sad story. Like, this is a sad story. I did not play during Future Sight, and like when I came back from Magic, this was like came back to Magic. This was the guy who was making all the waves in Modern. Tarmogoyf, and this card was as high as $203. A pretty good card, and now Tarmogoyf actually gets a little bit better because there is another card type in Magic the Gathering. Yes, that's right, the battle card type. So now, like, there used to be the biggest that Tarmogoyf could get. I think it was like a 7/8 or something like that. But now Tarmogoyf is he can be even bigger with the battle type mechanic. The original Tarmogoyf from Future Sight. You know, you might as well hold on to it because it's not coming back. It's just seen so many reprints. This poor guy from Ultimate Masters is $15, and that's where I opened my very first one. Benson, what are we looking up over at Card Kingdom? Paladin Elvac. All right, Benson's pick, Paladin Elvac. Let's check it out. Wait, Paladin Envec from Exodus. Envec, 80 cents. First strike, protection from black, protection from red. This is like the cheap version of the Mirren Crusader. Decent knight to pick up for 80 cents. Yes. Not bad. The Exodus version, I would say. Any foils available? 9th edition foils, 10th edition foils. See, like a lot of the time, let me tell you where Brody goes wrong. Sometimes when I'm speculating on cards, and I do that sometimes. Here's an example. This is a card that Benson just texted in, okay? Paladin Envec. Benson picks some pretty darn good cards, and he makes a lot of tech, and he got a brain on his shoulders that, puts 2 and 2 together, and he makes some short videos about it, and you can check that out over his channel. Pretty great, great head on his shoulder and an eye for Magic cards. Says it's a decent night to pick up. So this card here, what I've done in the past, and this is actually kind of I've screwed myself over. Now, I'll give you an example. Savor the Moment from Shadowmoor. When I was buying Shadowmoor foils, when I was buying Shattermoor cards, I did good on Savor the Moment because I looked at them and I was like, wow, the foil multiplier isn't actually that much different for the Savor the Moment regular versus Savor the Moment foil. And this is before Fire's Invention was printed. I've also gone ahead and had that happen with Second Chance from Urza's block, another reserve list card where at the time when I bought it, the foil multiplier wasn't even a thing. It was just slightly a bit more. Maybe it was, a couple of bucks more. But then when you look at some of these cheaper cards, right, and you're like, okay, well, it's 80 cents to get the non-foil, or I could get like a 9th edition foil for $7.50 or a 10th edition foil for $2.50. If the card it becomes good, like later on down the road, you're gonna regret not buying the foil. And I would buy a couple of each. Like if you're gonna speculate on a card that's been out of print for a while, it's going back to about 8th, 7th, 8th. I don't know if you can get 7th edition foil, but even 8th or 9th, or Shadowmoor, Lowrin, Future Sight, if there's a card that you're looking at, you're like, man, I think this card could be good, and it's like $1, do yourself a favor and just pick up one foil copy before the card sees some price action, and then the foil multiplier kicks in, and the friggin' thing goes 10 times what the non-foil version. So if I would say for this card, yes, it's a good card, Benson. Yeah, it's 80 cents, but I would do myself a favor. I'd buy the 80-cent Exodus one, but I would go and this is the mindset I've lost. This is another one of my bad beats. I've looked at a card like this, I'm like, "Oh, it's only 80 cents. Ooh, the foil version in 10th is $2.30. Ah, I can buy it later." Later never comes. You usually forget about it. And then, so if you're looking at a card like this for 80 cents and you want to speculate on it, and the foil multiplier isn't too bad, grab a foil copy. It's $2.30 while you're at it, and you won't regret it. Because if it gets some price action and takes a little bit of attention in the market, you won't regret having the foil copy, because those things are going to get picked up if the card starts getting played. People are always going to want the foil version. It's no different than the Mayhem Devil. So the Mayhem Devil, here's a card. If you're like, hey, Mayhem Devil, I'm going to make a sacrifice deck. It's an uncommon. It's from War of the Spark, no problem. Oh, okay, yeah, the sacrifice deck is actually good. It's playable in Rakdos Sacrifice, Rakdos mid-range, and also in Commander. But then when you realize, let's scroll the chart back, when this come out, you're like, okay, this card could be okay. Like, it seems fine. It's it's a couple of bucks. It's gone up. It's only, when it first come out, would have Mayhem Devil 30-40 cents. And then let's look at the foil multiplier. Once it catches on and it ends up being a decent card, and there's viable decks and people start putting tech out on it, this card, the foil version, went from $5 or $7, and is, because it's the only foil version, it's 20 bucks for an uncommon of the Mayhem Devil. So, like, do yourself a favor. If you're going to speculate on an 80-cent knight that could have synergy in Knight Tribal in the future, anyone, look for the foil version, and if it's cheap, $2.50, and the multiplier is like next to nothing, do yourself a favor and pick up one foil copy for me. Just pick one up, hold on to it, because if it catches on and it ends up being included in a deck anywhere that's viable, the foil you're not going to regret having that one foil copy, and you're going to wish you got more. Phyrexian Obliterator and Coat of Arms. Whenever sources deal damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. This card got a reprint, and I like the original one better. Sorry to say, I don't know what's going on in this art. It looks like an X-ray, or like a, this guy's at the doctor, and they're like, now, Mr. Obliterator, as you can see right here, you've got some gallstones that you're going to need to pass. So we're going to give you some prune juice, some laxatives, and a few other soft foods so you can pass this. Seems like you've eaten the dog's food and the dog's dish and a tiny matchbook car. Is that a toy car in your system, Mr. Obliterator? I don't like the art on the new one. It looks like an X-ray. I don't know. What can I say? This card being played in standard now that it's been reprinted, Golgari mid-range and mono black. In standard, OMG. Of course, Duress, go for the throat. Infernal Grasp, Shoulder's Edict. And if you want to play, where's a modern deck? There isn't one. Viking, it's a modern card. And Coat of Arms. Here's a card we talked about last week. MTG Gaming Bob and I were discussing the Coat of Arms and Vanquisher's Banner and which one's better. This card is moving and shaking at this anthem. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. Tribal's going to be good in Magic always. Twiddler's here. Good morning, Twids. Thanks for joining us. How you doing, buddy? Tommy Sidden says, I found a Fable of Mirror Breaker in a common bin this past weekend. Nice! And did you know I was opening some packs, and I opened the Goblin token on one of my on a pack opening video, and I like put it aside, and my buddy Garen Jotter, he's like, hey, that token's worth $20. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the 2/2 Goblin token that goes with the Mirror Breaker Fable is $20. And I'm like, holy smokes, I didn't even know. So there's sometimes there's like underappreciated stuff. And I don't know where to does anybody know where to look up tokens? Like I find it's hard to look them up because like if you put in Goblin token card, like Unglued comes up. Where does anybody, I got a good question for you folks. Where do you go to price tokens? Because there's many versions of them, and somebody told me that one of the Amonkhet or the Hour of Devastation and Amonkhet, the army tokens, there's like the amass tokens, those ones are worth a couple of dollars. Where do you folks go to price tokens? I have a tough time looking up tokens, and I've given up on pricing them. Amy Bob says, price tokens on Scryfall or Echo MTG. Thank you. All right, so that's where we go to price tokens. Because these two sites, the Goldfish site and the Stocks site, let's go here. Eco MTG tokens. Michael Superbacker's been using the Eco MTG, and I'm gonna have to price groups trending up and trending down. Eco MTG. Go to the reserve list. Interesting. All right, this is the last card on the movers and the shakers here this morning for Monday, April 10th, your Magic the Gathering morning stocks and talks. We've talked about a few things here this morning. It's been a bit of a time. What a time to be alive, right? I'm thankful for each and every one of you folks who joined in on the channel. It's Monday. We're getting ready and sorted to go for the week. Should be good. Should be a good week here, folks. I'd like to thank each and every one of you folks for joining me on this morning Magic the Gathering Stocks and Talks. It's been a pleasure taking a look at the prices of Magic cards. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there, or is there just too much information? Let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every day. I'm bringing you folks some news articles as they happen, looking for movers and shakers in the market each and every morning, trying to bring that to you folks here on the live stream. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all again in the morning. Hit the like button. That'll help the channel grow. It lets me know that you've got the bro along for the ride, and we can reach more amazing subscribers and fans of Magic the Gathering who love the game as much as we do. Let's put our heads together. Let's try and get the fun into your collection, whether it's unique formats, Dan decks, or super fast tortoise decks. I want to build a super fast tortoise deck. I really do. I want to build a super fast tortoise deck around that Arabian Nights common. Maybe it'll get some price action. I love it. We'll talk to you all again real soon.